Let's tackle today again the bucket of little journals that I want to finish. And I think I want to continue with this one that we worked on last time. Let's see what happens. This one tends to be more simple. It's getting super chunky. And as always, I just love it because it's so soft and squishy and cozy looking. This is what we worked on last time. So let's figure out what we can do here today again. Let's see, I have this paper that's been stuck here for a while, trying to figure out what to do with this. Let me grab my basket of painted papers, some fabrics, and I also have some papers that are old, tattered, and they are neutrals. Okay, I have no idea what to do, truly. As usual, I want to do collages because I love collaging. And I think to help me, I'm going to use this piece of fabric. It's one of my favorites. I have more, thank goodness, because I love it so much. So what can we make work with this as far as paper goes? Of course, any neutral will help this. I'm just trying to use what has been sitting around in my desk for a long time. These are not much of anything really. Let's see what we can do with any of this. I mean, this could be as simple as just putting a Bible verse on it, maybe with a little bitty collage on top of the fabric. Maybe we can do something like that. I like this color too. I like how I've been using some of these bright colors in the vintage background. That's a nice combination, I think. Just scraps. I love scallops, always love scallops. This is one of my favorite things, but not the purple, I don't think. I hope that you're all doing great, able to art and craft and spend some well-needed time with the Lord in His presence. I like this little bright flower there. Here's a leftover scallop from something else. I like this color with this, but I don't like it against that, but that can always be covered up later. But then, I don't know, that could work, bringing more color to the background. It really helps. Maybe bring some, yeah, let's work on this. I think it's kind of bringing a bit of inspiration. Like, let's hope that it works. I can maybe add some neutrals back here. I have decided after so many years of doing this that I don't always have to use up the last of my scraps because it gets me stuck sometimes. I try because it's a challenge and I can make something good come out of it, but sometimes it just gets me so stuck and a bit frustrated. So I decide to just, you know what, if I don't love some of these scraps, I'm just going to get rid of them. Just throw them out. I don't have to use them. It's okay to throw some of it out. It's been years, for crying out loud. So, you know, and then pull out something that I really enjoy that I want to work with, and it makes life easier. So I go both ways, but if I definitely cannot find what I want, why not change it up? I love the ledger paper. I have this type of thing, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get some, like over here. It's just a pretty background for color, so I'm going to get more of that. And forget about trying to be perfect with my scraps, you know? And use up some other ones, and whatever happens, happens. I have this. This is masking tape that has been stamped and attached to wax paper. We can maybe use some of these. I don't know. This is a little tissue paper that has some design on the back from a product, and it was coffee dyed and all wrinkled up. maybe, I don't know, some handmade paper. I wanted to segue from my last video where we talked about having a gentle and quiet spirit, which was verses 1 Peter 3:4. And it's for me just a personal conviction thing. Like I spoke, is something that I need to work on, right? So I was just listening to the Bible and I ended up in James. I love the book of James because it's so simple and very easy to grasp. And it's talking about how we are to control our tongue, and it's so convicting and very strong. He talks basically about how the tongue can cause so much damage. Just like a small fire can set a forest ablaze, that's what it compares it to. And so I find that to be so compelling. It's so important to us that we are mindful of that, especially us who have issues with bridling the tongue. I think I'm going to rip it in pieces also because I don't want the full background to be the same. So in an effort for me to pursue the transformation of my mind through the Word of God and changing, becoming better, more like Christ into His image, I try to please God, and we only can do that if we immerse ourselves in His presence through His Word and prayer and worship. I ran into these verses in James and I was very convicted. It talks about how man cannot do that. Man can tame, it says, the animals, the beasts of the earth, but it cannot tame the tongue. So God can tame our tongue. And I like to think that I'm not one of those people that can be very hurtful because of my mouth, but I sure know that I need to pay attention to this. And for some people, it's a lot easier than for others. Some of us are born a bit loose in the tongue, or just not as careful or mindful. This is not going to work. I'm not liking that. Maybe I do need to put this full piece here. Let's hold things down with repositionable glue for a minute. I'm not loving this. I think that looks better. So I'm just trying to do simple things again, trying to get rid of the scraps. So James 3 on verse 6 talks about how the tongue stains the whole body. That to me seems very, very harsh. It says setting on fire the entire course of life, and is set on fire by hell. Could you imagine that? That is a very strong statement. So let's be careful with the tongue. I say this to myself, and others maybe that have thought of this and may need this. Again, in an effort to please the Lord and walk righteously before Him like we are commanded to do. I'm not sure about all this green. It's pretty bright. Maybe we find some green to put over here. Maybe we can tone it down with something. Oh, I know what we can do. Distress inks always work for this. I think. I hope. They're wonderful because when I don't feel like I want to get paint out, if I don't have the time for paint, I can just rub some of this stuff on the papers and it works great. It helps. And I'm rubbing it on the heart a little bit too. So it definitely dulls it down. So it's not as bright and it should work better, I hope. This is pretty bright, so let's add a little bit of distress ink to it. So the yellow is not so bright. So continuing with my sharing here, I like to share. I don't think of myself as a teacher at all. I do not want to be held up as a teacher. In fact, James 3 starts talking about how people that are teaching are going to be held to a higher standard. So I don't want that. I don't do that in the channel. That's not my intention. It may come across like that sometimes, but that's not what I want to do. I basically just preach to myself and want to share my experience in hopes of comforting people and helping people that may be going through something similar, and show people how wonderful God is, how he blesses us and gives us hope in our trials. That's my hope for everybody with this channel. Comfort, hope. Let's put scallops. I love scallops. Let's make scallops out of something. Scallops remind me of childlike play, and I love that. And James continues to say, it is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. With it we bless God, we curse man. We bless and we curse with it at the same time. It's awful. It's just awful what we are capable of as human beings. Something to consider, really. And I know there's plenty of you probably in the space that are very guarded, more wise. You know, there's some of us that can struggle with these things, and maybe you cannot relate. This would go well here, I think. I'm going to go for that and add another layer of something else. Just make it messy, raggedy, and layered. I'm thinking I just don't love these colors so much. These are super busy. I think that's kind of good. Very vintagey, messy. I think that will work. I like the heart with that actually. Yeah, I'm not loving this really. It's kind of neat. And maybe just put some stitches around the heart. I think that will work. Vintagey dirty to this vintagey look back here with some stitches. Now I wonder if I just overdid it with the inks. I don't know. We can always clean some of it. Actually, I can wash this, rinse it off. Those inks wash off. I may do that. Or add something to brighten it up here. Another heart to go with this heart maybe. That would be good. Let's sew this first. I have a few tips for you. So I had glued this piece of old ledger paper. This is old, and so I think it may be a bit more brittle. And I glued it here, and when I pulled it off, it actually pulled off some pieces. Left me with a hole here. It's never happened before with this glue, but I think it's because the paper's old. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another one is because I had added glue to this and glued it here, and this glue stays sticky. It has residue. When I run it under the sewing machine like this for the heart, it leaves a bunch of gunk on the sewing machine. Very easy to clean with alcohol. That's no problem. But what I'm going to do is glue a piece of thin paper. Could be deli paper, or this is print, what do you call it, newsprint paper. I'm just going to put it in the back so I can have a clean back to run under the sewing machine, so I don't have that issue with the sticky stuff. And I want to go around the heart one more time because it turned out pretty atrocious. This is really messed up here, but that's okay. So I'm going to do that again with the paper behind, because this glue is pretty messy that way. It does stay very sticky. So those are a few tips if you happen to want to play around with repositionable glue. I think this look is nice. It reminds me of this. You know, more soothing, more muted colors, more monochromatic, I think. And it would be nice to fill a book with soft vintage like collages. that have these colors. If you want to add color, then like this subtle gray blue, little bit, or this subtle green in this, very little, even like a very subtle soft pink, but mostly the browns, the vintages, and the darks. I think that would be a beautiful little vintage journal. Maybe I could tackle that sometime. I tend to get bored with one style of a journal, one journal that's just vintagey. I have to add color. I have to change the pages every now and then and switch it up because I get bored and I want to finish the journal. So thematic journals are a bit difficult for me. That's why they never, I start thematic and then it ends up eclectic because I get bored. So I'm going to sew this again and see what happens. There, I think that is much better. And another tip I can give you, just like when you use pencils, color pencils, markers in art, if you make a mistake and you go over to outline something 2 or 3 times, it looks like it's on purpose. Do you know what I mean? Like here, I went over it a couple times again, 3 times here. So it looks like it's on purpose. It gives it more character. So I have some rough edges, but different ones. It's not just one straight line that's messed up. So add more lines with your markers or with stitches. It works the same, I think. And it gives it character. Now it looks nice. I did remove some of that wacky thread there, but I left some of it. And I like it. It's nice. And I'm thinking, yeah, it would be kind of nice to start a vintagey style book, but a little one so that I can finish it and maybe stick to a theme. Would you all like that? I know a lot of people do that where they have thematic books, journals, but I like to finish my journals. I cannot have a lot of unfinished work. It drives me nuts to have books that have empty blank pages. I can't stand that. I mean, I have a few like that, but I always try to go back to them or dream of going back to them. And I do. I try a little bit here and there. And then sometimes I do finish them. I like to open my books and see a finished product. I like that a lot. Look at that, how vintagey it turned out. So, and how muted. When I wanted to add this, I'm really not liking this. Maybe I'll just dispose of it. I'm thinking maybe, do I wash this or simply bring a new piece of cloth like that one? Or leave it as is? I'm not sure. I think I want to put my ideas here today. Maybe add some lined paper. This is coffee dyed lined paper. Yeah, I think that would work. And jot down my ideas for my little Bible study I did on the tongue. I also like to cover with collage and flip so my ideas can be underneath. That's another option. That would require something to flip, a paper or fabric, another collage basically. And here we can add something. I'm going to try to wash this and see what happens. I'm going to rinse it off. I rinsed it off and it's still a little bit damp. For what I do mixed media and so messy like, I don't worry. I've done this before where things are a bit damp going in. It's fine with me. It doesn't damage anything. So this is brighter again. It would be good to put something here, maybe offset it here to the side. James continues to say, he talks about the wisdom from above, which is not our wisdom and our sinful nature. Basically, earthly wisdom. It calls it unspiritual and demonic. That's why I'm saying James is pretty convicting and straight to the point. It says that we are not to have bitter jealousy, selfish ambition in our hearts, and boast and be false to the truth. And it refers to that as the wisdom of the world and how evil it is. And what hit me before I did this video, actually last week when I was walking, I was listening to James and I wanted to go back to it because it was beautiful. Verse 17 says, but the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. and a harvest of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. There's a lot there to think on, and just many traits that we are to have to impart the wisdom of God to people, I believe. And I don't know that on this earth I will be that wise, but certainly something to pray about. So I hope that blesses you. And it is James chapter 3, if you want to go look it up. Maybe do a little bit of a quilt, just a little one, to cover some of the text here with different pieces of fabric. That would be kind of nice. Something like this. These little pieces, just kind of get them together, and it's kind of subtle. Just a little pink to go with this pink. And I think that may work. Let's try that. Yeah, look at that mess. I like it. I'm going to go for it. Oh, here's another beautiful piece of fabric that I liked it. Again, I'm going to attach these pieces to a piece of probably deli paper to make things easy. Maybe put a little piece of music. There, paper. Just get creative. Here's the little collage I did, and I think it's so cute. Just raggedy and messy and simple. Going through my stickers of verses, I found be very careful in how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. Ephesians 5:15, and that works perfectly with what we were talking about. How to tame the tongue. We need to be wise. It talks about the wisdom of God from above, not the earthly wisdom. So I think it goes perfectly here also because of the colors. There, just a little tattered mess of goodness. Fabrics and papers, vintage, color. I just realized that not all of these are Bible verses. Here's something from Hamlet. There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Well, I'm sorry I don't agree with this, because there is good or evil. For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind, to Timothy 1:7. That one's always good. I think the colors work. There, I think that works. That is good. And here is my messy writing with the highlights of my little study today. One thing that I'd like to add that I didn't mention before is these meditations led me to Proverbs 18:21. That is pretty popular. It says life and death are in the power of the tongue. So that relates to what I was meditating on today, and I think it's very important. We can just bring all this to prayer to the Lord, praying the word. Please, Lord, lead my tongue to build people up. Help me be wise. Do not let it be deadly poison like the word of God says. And just pray, come to God, request, and He's there. He will answer. We just have to draw near to Him, and He'll draw near to us. My goodness, I have so many of these that are not Bible verses. I had no idea. Okay, that is very disappointing. I don't remember. I bought these long time ago, and I'm sure some will have something decent, but definitely have to be careful what we purchase. I guess this is true. All that glitters is not gold. So anyway, this is the project for today, and I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that you got stuff out, that you played along, or that I inspired you to create something simple and messy with the scraps that you have laying around. Fabrics, papers, mixed media, whatever you have. Put it to work, put it in a cute little book, and get inspired by the Word of God. Most importantly, I hope you all take care. Give it a like and subscribe if you like the video and if you're going to come back, okay? And you all take care. Be very blessed, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.